RWM Home Loans in Fresno is a proud sponsor of Fuego FC. RWM Fresno, mortgages made easy and where your journey begins. Envision Realty. We want to help those achieve the dream of home ownership. We are your voice and will be right by your side from beginning to end and beyond. Visit www.envisionfresno.com and be a future home owner.
So, Sebastian, tell us a little bit about yourself and also Donor Network West and who you work with and your position and all the great stuff that you do with the company.
Thank you. My name is German Sebastian, German Sebastian in English.
Yeah.
I am Family Resource Coordinator with Donor Network West. I've been with Donor Network West for about 3 years. And before that, I worked at a little TV station here in Fresno and some radio stations, Univision 21, and our radio stations there on Herndon and Palm here in Fresno. In 2007, my family was involved in a car accident.
Awesome.
And our son, Sebastian, died in that accident. He was declared brain dead. And somebody came to us at that point and talked to us about organ donation. And we said yes. And that changed my life. Obviously, that accident changed my life, but now not working in media anymore, but I'm still helping my community one-on-one. It's more intimate. It's not mass communication. It's one-on-one, empowering families to make an informed decision, not one that's based on a temporary emotion of loss and grief at that moment.
And sorry to hear that, and from personal experience myself and seeing loss, and you try to stay positive. You try to see the positive in every situation, right? And it's tough at times, and seeing that you kind of turn that into a quick one, right? It's like, someone is waiting on your loss to hopefully get some life out of your loss, so.
Yeah, and I mean, they're not waiting for somebody to die, but
No.
their prayer is that somebody says yes.
Yeah.
That's the prayer, and gives them the opportunity. And even when people say yes, Adriana will attest to this, those recipients will get a call, and it's not until that organ is in the recipient's body that the donation is complete, and then all the medication that recipients have to take and take care of themselves. I mean, it's a long process, but if we're able to help save somebody and give them extra time, I mean, sure. That's what this is all about.
And what is your position with the company right now?
I'm a family resource coordinator. So we have a lot of different departments. We have aftercare department and our family services, which is I'm part of. Our clinical team. There is an army of people that make this happen. After we get a yes, there's paperwork. The whole process is we complete paperwork with the family there at the hospital. After they say yes, or their loved one had already registered and they said yes. At that point, my job is to inform the family that their loved one wanted to be a donor. Some already knew about it, some didn't. I've had a lot of families that they're glad that their loved one made that decision because there's no way that I could make that decision, is what they tell me. But the biggest question is, your loved one best. If I could talk to them and let them know that before they leave this earth, they can save up to 8 lives with their organs and heal up to 75 people with their tissue, what would they say?
It's crazy that, and I'm not going to read off of this anymore, right? One of my favorite movies is 7 Pounds. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Will Smith?
Yeah, Will Smith.
We know that
How
actor.
touching is that at the end? It's crazy, right? The twist and knowing that he was setting that up in a sense. But Have you ever encountered something like that?
That somebody actually
has donated, and then you've met that person.
Oh yes, no, and there's also something called directed donation, and that's something that I didn't know about, and not a lot of people know.
And I'm totally new to this.
Yes, no, and that's why I bring that up, because you mentioned when somebody, the way donation works is whoever's sickest is at the top of that list, right?
Yeah.
Directed donation works in the way that if you have a loved one who's on the list waiting, they don't have to be at the top of the list. If your loved one who's passing, one of their gifts is compatible with that person, it's a directed donation. So you're able to help somebody and meet somebody right away that you know. And that's happened quite a bit. It's rare, but I've seen it actually this past few months, quite a bit. So it's a beautiful thing. For me as a donor dad, my son was 9 when we lost him. We can write to the recipients, but I didn't do it until 10 years after. And it never really dawned on me why, but then I realized, I think it dawned on me that I've been without him longer than I was with him. And so I wrote my letter to his recipients, and hoping that they're doing well. We knew that his liver recipient passed away 3 years after the transplant. What wouldn't I get for 3 more years with my son, or anybody that's lost somebody? His kidney recipients, there's one of them still here. I did not hear from one of them, but I did get a call from one of his recipients. She lives in Sacramento. My brother lives in Sacramento, so we figured, you know what? Next time I go up to Sacramento, if it's okay with you, I'd love to meet. She's in dialysis now. She needs another kidney, which happens. So we showed up at Old Town Sacramento, where she wanted us to meet, and she didn't show up. We knew that she was having dialysis earlier that day, so we knew that might be a possibility. But she called and let us know. We called her, "You okay?" She said, "Yes, I just wasn't feeling well." And I told my wife, "She's not ready. She just can't verbalize that. She can't say it." Because she said, "We'll just meet. We'll meet tomorrow on a Sunday." Went to a restaurant, waited for 2-3 hours. She didn't show up. I was wearing a Donate Life hat, and I was right there at the front of the restaurant. So every time somebody would come in, no. And she's not ready, and it's okay, because what I've learned a lot from people that are on the receiving end, they're happy that they're alive, but they're know that somebody died in order for them to be there, to have that organ. So it's a tough conversation to be able to, how do you say thank you to somebody? Yeah. How do you see them and
It's thank you enough.
Yeah. So what I told her, I'm like, as long as you're okay, that's the best. No, for sure. That's why we do this. That's 100%. Why we said yes.
Wow, that's a big yes.
It is and it isn't. Because it's, again, like I said, it's a really simple question. You know your loved one best. If they didn't register, what would they say?
Yeah. So let's say if they don't register, right? And I don't know this. I'm sorry if I. Does someone still have the decision to make?
If somebody is not registered, yes, the family has the decision that, and there's a hierarchy as to who decides. The California Uniform Anatomical Gift Act, the recipient, I apologize, the donor is at the top, and if they say, "This is what I'd like to do with my body after I die," then we honor that. If they did not make that decision, if they're married, their spouse. If they're not married, adult children. If they don't have adult children, then it's the parents. If the parents aren't here, then it's the siblings. It goes down to your neighbor, to somebody that expressed interest in that person. Because there are people that don't have family, or we can't find family. So as long as somebody that knew that person, and very rare cases, sometimes even the hospitals can make that decision.
And where are you from?
Originally from Mexico City.
Mexico City?
Yes.
We just came from Mexico City, actually. We went to, just outside of Mexico City. We went to Pachuca.
Okay.
We went to go check out their facilities. And
it's a small little
city. Yeah.
Facility there.
Yeah.
How was the
trip? It's beautiful. I loved it, though. It was awesome.
Pachuca.
But Mexico City was amazing.
Was it a good trip?
It was. It was a good trip.
La
We
Ciudad
went to
de
go watch some
Mexico.
good soccer, some good football. So, but that's amazing. But you have community ties here. You have family here.
Yes, I have family here and in Cuernavaca, Morelos. So,
Okay.
I mean, you went the other direction to
Yeah.
Pachuca. If you go south of Mexico City, that's Morelos, and Cuernavaca, la ciudad de la eterna primavera,
And you worked
the
for
city of
a
eternal
while
spring.
with Univision as well too.
Yes,
right?
I worked with Univision for, gosh, almost 17 years. We
Yeah.
started Univision Radio
You
in
look so
2002.
familiar. I would go in there when Fuego was with
Yeah,
Univision before, right?
I'm sure I
With
saw you there.
God, what's Jo? Jody? No.
Judy.
Judy
Yeah,
and
she's still
Naya,
there.
She's
Yeah.
still there.
Yeah,
so-
she's still there. Lupita Lomelí is still there. Zaira
Yeah,
Vasquez,
that's good.
David.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you made the decision to
Well,
come this way after.
After they no longer needed an operations manager, I needed a job, and I actually spoke that year we have a donor family gathering
Yeah.
every year with families of the donors from the previous year.
Yeah.
And I think I spoke at that one, and I talked about change, and I think somehow I incorporated me looking for another job as part of change. I mean, there's so many changes that we go through, and that planted the seed. And by the grace of God, I'm here, and I'm able to.
You have a powerful story that just fits it's just like a tailored glove, right?
You know, I just learned this quote from this young lady who was a contestant at America's Got Talent. It says, "You can't wait till life isn't hard before you decide to be happy.
Yeah,
It's never gonna not be hard."
sure.
So, and she was a cancer patient. She passed away not too long after that audition. And I mean, Nightbird was her name. Beautiful story, a beautiful voice, and I mean, we all have that power
That decision.
to be positive.
Yeah.
And to
Decide.
we all decide how we're going to deal with
Yeah.
things. Life's not going to come at you, with roses all the time.
Yeah.
It's how you react to things that
Exactly.
makes a difference.
I always say there's always someone with a bigger problem.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You got to keep going.
Yeah. No, and when you go through a loss, you go through something like we did, that's one thing that really opened my eyes, because you get people that cut you off in traffic and what have you, and you're like, it's like, what are you going to gain by being upset? You don't know what they're going through.
That's true. That's true. And going on to this lovely young lady.
Thank you.
If you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Adriana Castillo, and I am originally from Mexico City. That is why I'm excited about asking you questions about Mexico City. I came to Fresno, California about 23 years ago because I met my husband-to-be.
Okay.
He's from Fresno.
Awesome.
And yeah, that's about me. And
Yeah, awesome. And so how are you tied in with the company, and a little backstory on yourself?
Sure. In about, my father suffered a stroke in 1999 in Mexico. And throughout that process, we found out that he has a kidney disease called polycystic kidney disease, which is a hereditary disease that forms cysts in the kidneys, eventually atrophying them. About several years ago, it was determined that I had inherited that gene, unfortunately, and it was one of the I don't even know the name, but it's one of the aggressive genes for the disease, and there is no cure. So eventually, I was told that I was going to lose my kidney function and that I needed to go on dialysis. So once I knew that, one time I was driving here in Fresno, and I noticed that there was a sign that said, what was the name, Maria, of the place before it was Donor Network West?
California Transplant Donor Network.
California Transplant Donor Network.
CTDN.
CTDN. So that got my attention. And I actually went to a parking lot, and I went into the office, and I said, I'm interested in finding out what you guys do here. So I met Marcela Corona, and I said, I have in my future that I might be on dialysis. So if that happens, I would really like to volunteer for you guys. So that was, time passed. I was still so enjoying life. And finally, in 2015, my doctor said it's time. It's time to put you on dialysis. Your kidney function is very low. So I went through the process, and I took. I'm a teacher. That's one of the things I haven't said. I've been pretty much a teacher for the past 30 years.
Awesome. Here in Fresno?
Well, I started in Mexico City.
Okay.
I started at UNAM, so I'm a Puma. I'm a Puma.
We just had Puma as we had to find a practice site for them.
Cool.
They were here against Chivas.
Okay.
Yeah, they played Chivas last week. Was it last week?
The 23rd of March. Yep.
So we hosted them, all the Pumas players.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about my relationship to soccer, and I realized, like soccer and football are like things that I kind of have dear to my heart, because that's how I one of the things I did relating to my brother. So, like they will watch the games, and we're both from UNAM, which is the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de Mexico, one of the largest universities in Latin America. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So we're Pumas, and so it was kind of sad to move to Fresno and leave all my family.
So you started teaching in Fresno?
I started teaching for UNAM. Okay. They have a small school that is called the Center for Foreign Students, the Centro de Enseñanza para Extranjeros. And so I taught at UNAM for about 5 years. And then I got a grant to the University of UC Irvine to complete research. So I had a grant. So I moved to Irvine for about 10 months in 1997. So that's where I met my husband to be. He was studying there. He's from Fresno. So I went back to Mexico City, but, like you said, life just... I ended up marrying him and ended up moving to Fresno.
That's awesome.
And then I started working for just different educational organizations, Fresno Adult Schools, Sanger Unified, small private Christian school. And then my last 10 years have been with Central Unified as a high school teacher. So going back to my story related to donations, so 2015, I started my dialysis process, and because it was a life-changing event, I needed some time off. So I took a semester, the spring semester of 2015 off, and in the fall of 2015, I just returned to work. So for about 7 years, I've been working as a teacher and doing my dialysis at home, and
so it just became your schedule.
It just, it just became part of my life. Mm-hmm. However, last year, I started having some respiratory issues, and they did some testing, and they realized that my heart was not. There was something going on with my heart. It's very natural for people that are on dialysis for so long that it starts affecting other organs. Yeah. So your quality of life diminishes. So like I said, back in the spring of 2015, once I kind of accepted the dialysis, I started volunteering for Donor Network West. I met German and his family. So it is like a family, when you go through the same experience, you have that connectivity. Yeah. But then with work, it became a little harder to volunteer. So this past semester, the fall semester of 2021, I had to decide that my health was taking a toll. So I had an experience that kind of changed a lot of things. So after they did some testing with my heart, they said, well, your heart is not, it's not working. So around May, I got a call from UC San Francisco that they had a donor that they wanted me to take the organ. So we headed up there to San Francisco, And it was one of like, I couldn't believe it. I was actually couldn't believe that I was actually receiving the call to get a transplant. I've been waiting for 7 years. So like I was crying, I was laughing, so we got to the hospital. They get me in.
It's crazy. Like, we get calls from crazy numbers now, right? 559 numbers that, your insurance
Your
is
warranty's
running
about to
out.
expire.
Yes.
Your warranty is about to expire, right? And you get this call.
I get this call. I had just come back from work. My husband was out of town, like was coming back on that day. And I'm like, who's going to take me to San Francisco? Because it's the call you've been waiting for so many years. So my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, and my son, they took me up. They were all excited. I was crying. They're like, why are you crying? And I'm like, you have no idea what this means to me. And I called my family, and I was just like crying. They're in Mexico. I have family in Mexico City and Puebla, Mexico. So we got to San Francisco. They prepared me. They put me in a room. They put me in a gown. They did all like the initial testing, my blood. And about 2 hours later, there is this doctor that comes, and she's like, I got to talk to you. And I'm like, sure. She's like, well, I was reviewing your medical records, and we realized that you've been struggling. You have had some heart issues, and I'm just sorry to tell you that we can't do a transplant. So I reacted, very civil, and I'm just like, that's okay, So they're like, so I had to get dressed. My husband came later in the night, and he had made arrangements for like it was Mother's Day weekend, actually. And he had arranged to do the hotel rooms and to spend the whole weekend in San Francisco. So once I got to the hotel, I just lost it. And they were like, everything happens for a reason. But it's like, yeah, my head understands that. But just tell my heart. Mm-hmm. So it was very shocking for me. So they said, more than likely you need to go back home and kind of go to your cardiologist and keep working with, your heart and your health to see if something improves. At this moment, we're going to have to place you at the inactive list, transplant list. So we spent the weekend in San Francisco. By the grace of God, it was the most beautiful time I have spent in San Francisco. It was just beautiful and gorgeous. So we came back, and it took me a while to process. I think I was angry because, you have so much hope on something, and then they tell you, no, that's not going to happen. So I kind of got angry for a while. So going back to my situation at work, we decided that I probably needed to go home, rest, do a little bit more for my health, right? So I've been off for this semester, so I haven't been working. And then one time, Maria's name came to my mind, and I reached out to her. And I said, this is my story. This is what happened. I'm upset because I can't get a transplant right now, but I still believe in this cause, and I believe that there is so many more people that could benefit from a transplant. Whether or not I'm going to get it, that's in God's hands. Yeah. But I still truly believe that giving the gift of life, and I'm a Christian, and I'm a believer, so I do believe that that we have this body, but that this body is not necessary when we die. So for me, that's the strong conviction that if you can bless another family, if you can bless somebody through organ donation. So obviously, I'm registered as an organ donor, and but this spring, I decided to put my time and effort in a cause that I believe in, even if there is no profit for me. Yeah.
Those are the tough ones, right? The ones that, people talk about time, right? Mm-hmm. And it's, even in this industry, right, where we talk about it today, it's like, how, you know, we're doing this and we forget about time, right? And then we have people that are just trying to get time, right?
Yep.
So I think it's humbling, and
Thank you.
And it's an amazing story, and for us it's more like we gotta humble ourselves, right? We gotta humble ourselves in a way where sometimes we gotta slow down and show appreciation to what's, I think it's more important, is life, and show the people as we love, right? And so so what like, what from here, do you go and do checkups, and
I have already talked to my cardiologist, and
Okay.
we're just waiting. They're going to do some other testing and see. But, and that is why I think organ donation becomes even more important to me, because, like I told my kidney doctor, I said, well, and my heart doctor, I'm like, okay, if my heart stops working, put me on the list for a new heart.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity to volunteer with Donor Network West, and I actually met online a person that actually is a recipient of a heart and a kidney transplant. So they were like encouraging me and saying, hey, you know, there is hope. There's hope. Never lose hope. So for the people out there, you know, like, unfortunately, nobody wants to think about losing your loved ones, right? Nobody. But life happens. And so when you think about that person that you love so much, being able to be a blessing to others through organ and tissue donation. I mean, to me, it's just a cycle of life. And you know, people have misconceptions, and people, a lot of our community members don't believe in organ donation, but it's so important because a lot of our people of color in the community, we're the ones that need those transplants and those tissue donations the most.
Yeah.
So, you know, there is an inequality in the number of people that are suffering from, like, or people that are on dialysis, or people that need a transplant, and the people in the same community willing to help with that gift and willing to donate. So I think the focus of what we do when we volunteer or when we work for the organization is to be able to bridge that gap in between the donors and the recipients. So there is more people saying yes to organ donations. So even my husband was saying, he's like, well, you know, it shouldn't be optional. Maybe it should be automatic, and whoever wants to opt out of that. I heard that from somewhere else. But, you know, this is such a sensitive
It is.
issue that you have to be very careful.
Yeah, because there's other things involved as well too, right?
Yes.
We have religion, we have people's point of view on what goes in and what goes out of your body, right? So I totally understand. So what do you guys do? And I know you guys work closely together, I'm sure, you know. What do you guys do to advocate, and what type of events? And I know you guys are big in the community, as I'm sure, with a person of your background, right?
Before COVID,
Yeah.
yes, we had
I
a
know
lot of. We
COVID
would
is-
be at various fairs and school presentations, a lot more than what we've been doing lately. But that's, I mean, it's education. We're a nonprofit organization, so
Sure.
you know, we don't have the dollars that a McDonald's per se has, and you know, you're gonna, every quarter hour of a TV show you're gonna hear about this, and it's a subject that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
We don't like to talk about death because, and especially in Hispanic community, you know, a lot of us think that, oh my gosh, if we talk about death,
It's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, gosh, I've been talking about being a millionaire and winning the lottery for many years.
And
Yeah,
yes, it happened.
Unfortunately, we don't have that power, you know.
Yeah.
But death is one thing that we all have in common. And
But there's
it's gonna
one thing
happen
that
to
is for certain, right?
Yeah.
We're all gonna die.
They
at
say
some
you can't
point.
cheat taxes or death. I'm like, you can cheat taxes. You might get caught and you might eventually end up somewhere where you don't want to be. But death is the only thing that
Only
doesn't
thing
matter
you
who
can't
you
cheat.
are,
Yeah.
how rich you think you are, however, I mean, it's, you know, It's the equalizer.
right? And you always think about like insurance life insurance, right? Life insurance, something that you leave on after you die. But we never think about like ourselves and what we could donate, right? So that's huge for me. If I don't have that donor behind my license, then I'm definitely gonna change that.
And the most important thing
Yeah.
is that you let your family know what you would want to do.
Yeah.
I found out about the direct organ donation.
But does it make it easier, right? If it's that a registered donor,
It makes it
But-
official.
or do they still have to ask?
No, there's not a decision that the family
decision.
needs to make, because just like leaving your millions,
Yeah.
to your favorite cat charity, your
Yeah.
family might not appreciate that, but that's what you wanted to do
Yeah,
with your
for sure.
millions.
Yeah.
This is the same thing. You're
Lucky
gifting
cats.
that. You're leaving that legacy for yourself.
Yeah.
You're saying, this is what I want to leave behind.
For sure.
So my job is, and our family team's job is to talk with families and let them know how that's going to work, and walk with them through those last steps of life. There's a lot of different things that we do for families, memory keepsakes that we do. We have amazing ambassadors that make quilts and blankets for families of potential donors. And I mean, I've had so many experiences with those quilts. Very briefly, we were at Children's Hospital, and I worked with a family, and I had a quilt that I had in my car for a while. Very particular quilt. It was yellow, and on the other side, it had I didn't know what it was, but later on, I found out what it was. But I let this family know, this young man, they were losing, and he was going to be a donor, and I let them know, I have this quilt that I need to get to you. So I got it to my counterpart. That was going to be the following day. He stopped by my house, picked it up, took it to Valley Children's Hospital, and he presented that to the family, and they immediately started crying. And he was like, "Oh my gosh, what did I do? Are you guys okay?" And they're like, "Just stay right there. We'll explain." So they composed themselves, and they shared that this young man's favorite color was yellow. On the opposite side of that quilt were mustard seeds. Well, this young man put mustard on everything.
Wow.
Chocolate-covered strawberry with mustard,
Oh, shit.
which I was like, I mean, what are the odds? I'm like, my se me enchina la piel ahorita. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
give the
Divine
goosebumps.
appointments.
Yes, and those kinds of things are something that I shared with them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, those are those little divine appointments
Yeah.
that you just mentioned. When we were in our car accident, we had an sunset orange Honda Element. We were struck on my wife and my 5-year-old side. We were T-boned, thrown into a canal here on Ashland and West in 2007. I'm leaving Univision, leaving the TV station, and I noticed this little Mini Cooper, that same color. My son's best friend since kindergarten, his name's Carson. We called Sebastian Sebas. Well, Carson called him Sebi. And I'll share this picture with you. You can put it on post-production. But as I'm leaving the TV station on Carson's birthday, March 23rd, which was the soccer game of Chivas and Pumas, that's why I knew the date exactly. On that date, a few years back, that Mini Cooper orange catches my eye, and the license plate says Sebi C. I mean, what are the odds?
Yeah.
So I we have these cameras on our phones. Immediately, I took a picture of it. I sent it to Carson. I said, "Hey, somebody says happy birthday."
Wow.
I mean, there's a show on Netflix, Surviving Death, and one of the episodes is about signs. So those, I mean, I believe in those because I've seen them.
Yeah.
I've seen them. I've felt them, and they're always with us. I mean, the day that I stop talking about my son, that we stop thinking about them, that's when we lose them, and that's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
And like you say, talking about death is, it's something that we don't touch. And like in my case, because God has helped me through so much, because I have other, like I said, just one organ, like the Bible says, we are all created with a purpose, and everything in our bodies, they're interrelated. And so for me, I truly believe that I don't have a problem talking about death, because several years ago, I was pretty much told that, that's a little bit more of our reality. And without knowing if I will ever get life-saving transplant or transplants, plural, I'm okay with my circumstances. I'm okay with the realization that it is what it is and the hardship is here, but let's try to focus on the positive. And that is why I reached out to Donor Network West to say, okay, I'm past the bitterness of that moment. Now I want to do something about it, because like I tell the people that I share my story with, if more people would become organ donors, then those transplant lists would not be so long. So any type of, when you're waiting for an organ transplant, that organ is not helping your body, so things just start failing.
Yeah. Domino effect.
It's a domino effect. So if we have more people, if those lists are, shorter, then you give more hope to more people.
For sure. Well,
and donation is very rare. I mean, it's very rare and powerful. Obviously, it's less than 0.5% of all deaths are in a way medically that they potentially could be a donor. Less than 0.5% of all deaths. So how many of those people said yes? How many of those families authorized? So it's really, a numbers game where every day we lose an average of 22 people there on that list.
Yeah.
And every 10 minutes, I believe the number even went down. It's like every 7 minutes,
Sure.
we get another person that's added to a list. So it's just, I equate it to trying to get out of a hole with sand, and you're trying and you're just pulling more down.
For sure.
But there is hope.
Yeah.
There is hope, and it's in us, and people saying yes and talking about it.
And for those people that have hope, where can they go, or where can they start the initiation process of, finding information like you did with you guys? Where are you guys located at?
Well, we're here in Fresno. We're on Herndon and Willow. But most importantly, and the easiest thing for people to do is to go out to donornetworkwest.org. That's a website, our website. You can register as a donor there. You'll get a lot of information in English and Spanish. You'll see a lot of stories, and you'll see a lot of the reasons why we do what we do. Yeah. Adriana is my why. That's why I go, and I advocate for people to be donors. I have her always with me. I have everybody that's potential recipient with me, behind me. That's what I'm advocating for. I want them, to live. I'm not there, yes, we're there in an ICU when somebody's dying. And at times I'll see staff that like, oh my gosh, you're taking from families. It's like, no. And fortunately, I can speak to it as a donor family. Because I know what organ donation has given me and has given my family. Us knowing that our son was a miracle for 3 people is invaluable. Us knowing that his legacy continues has, you can't measure that.
Sure.
So we've received a lot from him being a donor.
Awesome. Well, I am very touched by your guys' story and humbled and honesty. It's like, right after this, I'm calling my parents and calling the missus and making sure that they know that, they're appreciated, and making sure that, and for you guys as well too, advocating, because something like this can't go unsaid, and making sure that, you guys come to games, right? Hopefully you guys come and celebrate, and I definitely want to see you at some games.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
If you're a huge Puma fan.
Well,
we need to make sure you're a Fuego fan, though.
Okay.
All right, we got to get you some gear. And
soccer is ingrained into us.
Yeah,
Latino people and Mexican people.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's our way to relate,
Exactly.
and I love the the World Cup, and
It's coming.
yeah, I know. I'm so excited. And then I was watching the U.S. Mexico, and then I text my family, and I'm like, "Are you guys watching the game?"
Awesome.
And I watched the game, and I root for both teams because it's U.S. Mexico.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
Divided.
Yeah.
But what's awesome about the game and technology that we have now is that we can be watching the game with our family in Mexico, and they're right here on our phones, and we
Yeah.
can be enjoying the game together.
Exactly.
That's
So the good thing, our games are going to be on ESPN Plus.
Oh.
So you just got to download the app and watch us live. We do
Awesome.
have a game coming up, right, Nate? On the second, right?
No, we have a game
On Saturday, the second.
Oh yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday.
Our first.
Our days are blurred right now.
oh,
so.
he's been up since 4 a.m. so I'm gonna
That's your first game here?
No, it's away. So
away.
we
Our
have
first home game.
a special watch party that we're having at Summer Fox, right,
Yeah, Summer Fox.
Nate? And hopefully, if you guys want to get out and
Summer
yeah.
Fox is so close to where I live.
yeah,
And where is
so
the
go
Summer
watch
Fox?
the game.
That's on Melbourne and Herndon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just went there not too long ago for a Christmas
yeah,
celebration.
Be at your first home game, though, on the 7th.
awesome. So you guys are gonna be at the
Wait,
home game on
Right,
the 7th,
7th of.
May.
May 7th.
What time is the game?
It's at 7, right? 7:30.
Oh.
Yeah.
With their first charity, right?
Yeah.
Ah,
You
that's
guys have to be there, though.
awesome.
yes.
Right?
If I'm not at a hospital, I'm there.
Oh man.
That's the thing. That's why I'm
And
asking.
in the
where's this?
hospital, but meaning that you're helping
well,
a
if
family.
you're at the
Yeah.
hospital-
Yes, no, I'm in the hospital.
Tell them to change the channel on the
that's
TV.
where I work. Because I do tell people sometimes, like, oh, I can't, I'm at the hospital. They're like, are you okay? It's like, what's wrong? It's
Yeah.
like, no. I work at the hospital.
Yeah, if I'm not working at
Yes,
the
if I'm
hospital, if
not
you're not
working,
working
sorry,
at the
yes.
hospital,
Make sure you put all the TVs on that channel at the time.
And they have those. We're going to have to get, especially with Valley Children's, we got to get them a Disney Plus package over
Oh
there.
yeah, for sure.
'Cause they have all these DVDs.
We're
and-
working on something where you don't have to
to pay
potentially
for it,
purchase it.
that would
yeah.
be great.
Yeah. But
Yeah, so
I
the-
definitely want to visit your guys' facilities though.
Yeah.
Hanging out. I live out there, so I want to maybe just stop by and
Our facilities just offices, really. I mean, where.
well, just come
where
visit
yeah,
you.
yeah, almost definitely. Where the
Unless you don't want me to.
no. I'm just letting you know it's not going to be as exciting as your facility. Yeah, we do have Monica there, and Maria's. Monica every now and then shows up to work.
and it's so interesting.
Oh,
Wow.
Monica shows up every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, hold on,
It
sorry.
needs to be recorded.
Yes, yeah, exactly. No, Monica shows up
Scratch
every
that.
day.
When I started volunteering,
Uh-huh.
like I was volunteering with a different, is it director, your title?
Community engagement.
Community engagement
Awesome.
person. So now that I'm in contact with Maria, she was asking me for some pictures. And she's like, I think I remember you. And I'm like, well, that was 2015. So I was looking for some pictures to send to her. And I'm like, and I found one of all of us at the zoo.
Oh, okay.
And
We were at a table. We weren't, in a jaula there, and we're not an exhibit.
Oh, you guys
We
were visiting,
Yeah.
not living.
No, we had a tabling event.
yeah, we had a tabling event where we were creating awareness about organ donation. And I get these guys, and I'm like, we're all now we're orange T-shirts, and I'm like, wow. So through tragedy and gift and hope, we become a family.
Sure.
Like it's like I just saw him after so many years, and he's like, hey, how you doing? How's everybody?
The reasoning behind it, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Same thing with football. It's like, we get, I was just having, like, we had a podcast this morning, and it was with a friend of mine from France and Spain, and it was crazy. We went to go watch the Chivas Pumas game, and so we come down, we go down to the field, and he goes, hey, that Calvo over there, that bald guy, I know him. And he just
I wasn't there.
no, I was there.
Some other bald guy.
another one. But I had barely picked him up from San Francisco airport. We drove all the way to Fresno, and we went straight to the game, right? And he was here in Fresno by 30, 40 minutes. We go out to the field. I know that guy. And I was like, he was like, who is he? He's from Spain. he was my, we went to school together, and then he came over, and then they started talking him up, catching up, and they met in Fresno, right?
Yeah.
So there's always reasonings behind it, right? So
Very
connecting
small
people,
world.
yeah, it's huge, and sometimes it's a smaller world than
Yeah.
it's bigger, and I'm sure at the donor level, you're connecting with people that are
Yeah, and
sometimes. Is it national, or is it something that's local?
No, it's national as far as donation. I mean, it's
Yeah,
international.
yeah.
There is 57 organ procurement organizations in the
Okay.
U.S. In California, there's 4. One in San Diego, one in Los Angeles. We cover from San Luis Obispo all the way to Oregon, and 3 northern counties in Nevada, with the exception of Sacramento area. Sacramento has that's the
Their own
fourth
branch,
the
yeah.
fourth OPO, organ procurement organization.
Okay.
So we have a pretty big area that we cover. I mean, right now it's March, and we're up to, I think, like 10,000 referrals. That's referrals. That's people that potentially, could be donors. Last year, I think we ended up with close to 400 donors. 400 out of, right now in the first quarter of the year, we have 10,000 plus
Wow.
referrals. So that number's so small, and that's why it's so important that we speak to our families and we let them know
Yeah,
what our wishes would be.
for sure.
That way, the day comes, they're already going through such a tough time losing somebody. This conversation and that question of what your loved one would want, it's a simple one, because you've already had that conversation. We were talking about how you register on our website. Nowadays, you can do it on your phone. You have a health app.
Yeah.
You can do it there. I mean, registering in California, we have over 40 million people here in the state of California, and we've got close to 18 million people that are registered right now. That's less than half that are registered. So the most important thing to me is letting your loved ones know what you would want to do.
For sure. So, well, I appreciate your guys' time, and I really hope you guys come back. And if not, I see you guys at the game.
Thank you. Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes.
no, feel free to contact, and feel free. I would love to hear from you and
Thank you.
see you at the games. And this is your guys' home. Fuego's your
Thank you.
home.
Thank you.
And we're here for support, and we're about the community. So feel free to contact us, and Nathan as well too. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you
Well,
so
welcome,
much.
and I appreciate you guys telling your stories. Yeah. Very heartfelt. So
Thank you. We'll see you at the game.
yeah.